Hey, after seeing last week's video, one of my friends commented, look out for Ralph. He's on a tirade about legalism. And I guess I am. I think I've always been. Way back when I was a youth pastor, I knew this guy named Art, an upstanding man, I think a godly man, had Catholicism in his background. We tried to share the Lord with him. He was embracing everything we had to say. He even prayed with us to accept what he would not come to church until he could stop smoking because someone had told him that cigarettes are a sin. And as long as you got cigarettes in your life, you can't come to Jesus. Well, that's a pretty extreme legalism. But I went from there to being a pastor, church planter. And the first guys that really were the core of our church, and some of the first church planters we sent out were kind of hippies. It was that era. They were smoking dope in this little garage where they would all hide out. Somebody got to them with the gospel. They got saved. They tried to go to a prevailing model church and were told, get a haircut, put some shoes on, whatever, dress differently, and you can come in the door. They were met by an usher who blocked them at the door for the way that they were dressed. This is crazy stuff. I remember once in Hermosa and twice in Kaneohe, where I had to deal with people who came to me and said, we love you, we love the church, we love your preaching, we can't stand that music. And so my answer to them was, look at all the young people that are in this place. You know what? I don't like the music either, but they do. And that's why we're doing the music. Let me help you find another church because you don't belong with us because of the legalism that you carry. And, it just goes on and on. I remember a guy in our church who his wife had Alzheimer's and she took like 5 years to die. The man went to visit her almost every evening after work. He had a big time job as an aerospace engineer, and he was there always, always, always. Then she's in a nursing home. He's there all the time in the nursing home. While he's in the nursing home, he met this other woman. And shortly after his wife passed away, we did the funeral, the whole thing. Then he went back to the nursing home and started connecting with this other woman. And they got married about 6 months after his wife died. And you know what? Our church was sort of anti-legalism, and we're all for this. We thought this was a great deal. There was one person, however, who said he needs to wait at least a year before, and this is nonsensical stuff. I heard one recently of a pastor who went through a real difficult marriage, a wife threatening to divorce him pretty much every day for 8 years. The guy's grieving his marriage. He's going to work and with his staff, and sometimes people have told me he would wear sunglasses every day to hide his eyes, his red eyes, from the tears he's crying or the loss of his family. Finally, the woman pulled the trigger. The divorce happened. Everybody kind of took a step backward and said, this is good. This is something that needed to happen. Then a year later, he decides to get married, and people are coming at him with, well, you didn't grieve the loss of your marriage long enough. No, the guy grieved it for 8 years. Get over it. These people actually came and said, we want to know you really love this woman. If you're going to marry her just 1 year after your divorce, well, that's pretty short for us. Well, who are they to judge, for one thing? But for another, what would happen if he told the woman what they told him? You're not allowed to communicate with her for 3 whole months. We want to see if your love can endure absolute darkness, no text, no nothing, no communication. What do you think that woman would be feeling if this man chose the legalists in the church over her? Well, he stood up to them to the point of leaving his job. I'm thrilled about that. I just think you need to look at your own life, what little legalisms have crept in. Man, I grew up, you can't smoke, you can't dance, you can't go to movies. There was a Billy Graham movie that came to town. Now, this is really a long time ago, like 1956. And I couldn't go to the movie because I was told by the legalists in our church, my pastor, that if you are standing in line at a movie theater, even though the screen of the marquee says it's a Billy Graham film and all that, people might see you there. Non-Christians might see you, and it'll somehow sully your testimony. They'll know that you went to a movie. Well, that's as crazy as it gets, but there's crazy stuff in your life. I think there's crazy stuff in my life. I'm still thinking back to Song of Solomon, where they're talking about the little foxes that spoil the vineyard, the little foxes that spoil the harvest. What little foxes are in your life that need to get ironed out or captured and trapped, whatever they need to do? but we need to get off this stuff and get back to the Bible as the root for what we believe and what we're going to do and how we're going to act as Christians in a world that increasingly needs what we have, a gospel that's the gospel of loving God, loving our neighbor, and making disciples.